Hey class, how you doing? I'm making this video per the request from several of you in class have asked if I could do a video covering this project in Excel. And I'll just go ahead and get right to it. So we're working on the fifth module project in Excel. We did this one in class, but I'm going to go ahead and make this video anyways, just in case you need to reference this material. And yeah, let's go ahead and get this started. So the very first thing I'm going to do is, as always, I'm just gonna save this by changing the name to a 2 at the end. Make sure there's no extra characters, nothing else like that. I'm gonna click save and we're gonna get ready to start here. All right, so I'll just read from the instructions. You can follow along if you'd like, but let's begin. So Gilberto Rey is a financial analyst for Flex Wireless Communications, a telecommunication company in Sacramento, California. In addition to cell phones and wireless plans, Flexi sells electronics, accessories such as charging pads and headphones. Gilberto is analyzing the revenue generated from the series of accessories and asks for your help in completing the analysis. Okay, so go to the annual sales worksheet, which is right here. So I'm going to click down here. And the range B5 through B9, Gilberto wants to consolidate the sales data from quarters 1 through 4 in the previous year. In cell B5, so let's do that, cell B5, enter a formula using the sum function and 3D references to the sales for batteries and chargers using the data on the quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 sales worksheets. Fill the range with B6 through B9 with that formula to calculate the total annual sales for the different types of accessories. Okay, so if I want to create a formula here. So I'm going to be adding across tabs. So I'm going to put my my insertion point right here in this cell, but I'm actually going to come up here and I'm going to type this up as such. So I'm going to start by typing the sum, and I'm going to double click it there to begin this. Now what I want to do is click on the first quarter tab, and I'm going to click this, and I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to come back up to my formula, and I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to, hit a comma here because I want to select the second quarter. So here I'm going to select quarter 1, the same thing, batteries and chargers, and I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to do this, so on and so forth. So if you look here in the formula bar, I'm clicking right after B5, I'm doing a comma, and I'm clicking on the tab, and then on the cell B4 or B5 that's in this sheet, and I'm hitting enter, and then I am clicking on this again, do another comma. Let's go ahead and put our quarter 4. I could type this in directly if I knew the syntax by heart. If I really wanted to, I could type all of this in directly without clicking on the sheets. That's very acceptable to do that, to do so. So if you find yourself, if you don't want to go click between sheets, you could just, type this formula in. But this is what you need to pay attention to. Notice it shows the formula up here, but not down here. It shows our actual figure. So that step is done. So let's move to number 2. It says fill the range. Oh, and actually, sorry, we almost skipped a step. So we need to fill this range because what we want to do is copy this formula. And if you didn't see how I did that, if you focus here on the fill handle, very carefully hover until you see that icon and then drag down, you're going to go ahead and fill this out. So there we go. We have our figures, and that looks good. All right, so step number 2 says Gilberto also wants to display the total accessory sales from the previous year. This data is stored in another workbook. In cell B12 of Gilberto's workbook, enter a formula using the external reference to the cell B10 in the accessories worksheet. So sometimes we want to reference cells that are in another worksheet, and that's perfectly acceptable to do so. Just however, keep in mind, if you ever do that, you'll always need to kind of keep them together for this to work if it's going to be a live reference. So here we're going to go to B12. This is where we want to go. Now, this is where we need to open up that other document that was supplied with us when we downloaded these folders. As you can see, there were support documents, and here is one of them. I'm going to go ahead and open this, and here is our support document. So where are we copying from? So it says here on step 2, in cell B12 of the current workbook, insert a formula using the external reference in B10 from the accessories worksheet. So as you can see, Oh, actually, you can't. So as you can see here, the other one, here's B10. That's this right here. So, but before we do that, we need to come over here, and I need to start this off with an equal sign. And then I can come over to this other sheet that I have open right here. And if I come over here to B10, you can see that as I select this, this populates, and if I press enter, I am just literally referencing whatever formula is going to be on this sheet. Okay, so that step is done. That was step number 2. Let's go to step number 3. Gilberto wants to make some changes to all 5 worksheets, which all have the same structure. Group the annual sales quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 worksheets. In cell F1 of the annual sales worksheet, enter a formula using the today function to display today's date. So first thing you notice right here, there's a green bar underneath annual sales. And then you have these and there's no bar. Well, sometimes when we're working, we don't want to have to go and repeat steps over and over and over again on each sheet. Sometimes it's just easier to select the sheets. And I can do that by holding down the control key and then left clicking each sheet if I want to, or I can hold down the shift key and then just select the range that way. But I like to use the control key for this. Once they're all green like this, you know they're all selected. So now any change we make to this sheet will be made in every sheet. So let's take a look. And so what is the formula? So in the formula in cell F1, which is right here, we're going to use the today function. So we're going to start this off by typing in an equal sign, typing in today, and I'm going to double click this as it pops up. Now, notice that it starts a bracket. It doesn't give us the closing bracket. I'm going to put that in there since I'm always just going to ask it for the current date. And as soon as I put in that other parenthesis and hit enter, see that cell resizes, and this is going to update to whatever the current date is. So that's it for step number 3. Step number 4 says in the range D5 through D9 on all 5 worksheets, Gilberto wants to project next year's sales for each accessory, rounded up to 0 decimal places so the values are easy to remember. In cell D5, enter a formula using the roundup function that adds the sales for batteries and chargers in 2021 to the sales for the same accessory, cell B5, multiplied by the projected increase percentage, cell C5. Round the result up to 0 decimal places. Okay, so let's unpack this. So what we're doing is in this range right here, we want to put a predictive analysis that multiplies really this value together and then re-adds that value. And so to do so, I'm gonna start with actually for this one I'm gonna go to formulas, and we're gonna go to math, and we're gonna look for round up. All right, so round up, there you are. So what is our number and what is the number of digits? So the number of digits is going to be 0, and our number is going to want to round it up, but we're going to actually do a formula in here. We're going to round up. We're going to round up B5 times C5. Okay, and then we're going to add the value of B5 to that amount. And I'm going to click OK. Now, what did I just do here? So let's take a look. So I multiplied these two values together, B5 by C5, but then I had to add back this value so that I could see what the total sales would be with the total percentages. Notice that it's been rounded up. If you did this correctly, there should be 0, 0 here. In terms of 0 places, it rounded it up to this figure right here. I did that, and then what I want to do is copy that formula down. So it says in cell D5, we already did that. We entered our formula, round the values up, fill the range D6 through D9. So I'm just going to grab my fill handle here and then drag this on through. And as you can see here, we're going to have that update, and our rounding is correct. We have our formula here, so that is good to go. It says step number 5, ungroup the worksheets. Use the quarter name in cell F5, the annual worksheets to fill the range G5 through I5 with the names of the remaining quarters of the year. So notice our worksheets are still grouped. Now I could come over here to Home, Format, and over here you can see there's some sheet options over here. So there's tab color and everything here for sheets, but we can also ungroup these by coming over here, just right clicking them and then ungroup sheets, just like that. They're ungrouped. Okay, so let's click. We're still in annual sales, and if you notice, we copied that formula over all these sheets. You see, I didn't have to do all that work over. If I go back to annual sales, what they want us to do here is use this to fill out the rest of our quarters. So our fill handle can also do other series other than just numbers. So we filled the series. That was step number 5, what I just did here. If you didn't catch that, all I did was grab by the fill handle, bring this over. There we go. Step number 6. In the first quarter of the year, Flexi Wireless sold 2,550 units of a new smart home product called Home Hub. The company wants to increase the sales of the new product to 3,000 units by the 4th quarter. Project the sales for 2, 3, and 4 by filling the series for the first projection range with a linear trend. Okay, so in order for this to work, we want to know if we do a linear trend. Now, a linear trend means that we're going to expect the same amount of growth each quarter. So to do this, first I need to select my cells here. I'm going to come over here to the Fill tool. I'm going to look for Series. And we're going to do linear, and we're going to select trend. Okay, so not a step value. This is going to gray out, and I'm going to click OK. And as soon as I do that, you can see that this shows me the step trend that would be necessary. 2550, 2700, 2850. Your numbers should look like this. So let's go ahead and move on to the next step. Step number 7. Gilberto also wants to know how many Home Hub units the company would sell if sales were increased by 2% each quarter. Project the sales for quarters 2, 3, and 4 for the second projection, range F9 through I9, based on a growth trend using 0.012 or 1.02 as the step value. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and select where we want to map out to in terms of our trend. I'm going to come back over here to the fill handle, and I'm going to do another series. And this time, I'm going to change this the step value. And we're also going to change the growth. So we're looking for a growth trend. If you look here in 7, it says a growth trend. So you want to select this. But then you also want to update this to be 1.02. This will make sure that we're getting 2% of that value. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then this shows you what you would have to sell, what it would look like if you sold an extra 2% each quarter. All right, so that was step number 7. Let's go to step number 8. Step number 8 says Gilberto wants to visualize how the sales of each type of accessory contributed to the total annual sales for 2021. Create a 2D pie chart that shows how each type of accessory, range A5 through A9, contributed to the total 2021 sales of the range B5 through B9. Moving to resize the chart so the upper left corner is in cell A14 and the lower right corner is in cell D30. Okay, so let's take a look at this. First thing we need to do is select our range, right? So we find our range is over here, create a 2D pie chart on the range A5 through A9. So I'm going to select this range right here. But now I'm going to need to also select this range. So I could just probably do this and that would be fine because we're just taking A5 through A9 and B5 through B9, and there it is right there. Once you have that, you're going to click on the Insert tab. Come over here to where this says Charts. There's a little icon right here. I'm going to click the first one for 2D Pie, and it's going to drop that right in the middle. Now, if you got something that doesn't look like this, make sure you have your ranges selected properly. If it looks any different than this, it's probably not selected in the range properly. So I'm going to go ahead and place this here. We're going from A14 to the bottom right lower corner on cell D30. So I'm going to drag this down to cell D30. There we go. So I have that. I'm going to click in the chart title here because our next step is to make the chart more readable. So to make the 2D pie chart easier to interpret, type accessory sales 2021 in the chart title. Now, in order to just edit the title, notice when I click away from this, if I select this, this is where I'm at. I'm going to just start typing. I want you to see what happens here. So accessories, accessory sales 2021. Notice nothing appears here as I'm typing. That will not happen until I press enter. So you have to press enter once you update the title, and then you'll go right into it. Okay, so also add data labels to the chart on the inside end of each slice. So there's nothing on here, and it's a little hard to read right now. So what I'm going to do is click this plus button, and there's a data labels option. I'm going to open this little menu that appears when I hover over here to see the different options on here. And we're looking for inside end. Okay, so inside end. I'm going to make sure I read that correctly. Inside end of each style. And then we also need to display the value and percentage data for the labels. Okay, so see that that's not exactly in here. So I'm going to click on more options here. And by clicking on more options, I get this menu, and this one allows me to see everything. So now I'm going to say inside end. So we put this here, and I'm going to go ahead and click this box for my percentages. And then that will be all we need to do for that particular step. I'm going to just close out of that for the time being. All right, so we got percentages, the values. All right, so two more steps here. So step number 10, go to the Q1 worksheet. Okay. Gilberto wants to use a copy of the worksheet to track sales in 2022. Create a copy of the Q1 worksheet at the end of the workbook and rename it Q1 2022. So here I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to select move or copy. Now, before you move forward, you want to make sure that you select Q1 because that's the one you want to make a copy of, but you also want to select this create a copy box right here. I'm going to click OK. Now, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to right click this. I'm going to click rename, and we're going to call this Q1 2022. There we go, Q1 2022, and now I need to move this to the back. Now, I could have told it to do that at the end of the sheet, and there was a box I forgot to click. But let's say if you need to move this, if I left click and hold, you can see I could drag this, and you can see that black arrow following me around, showing where I'm going to drop it. So you can left click and literally just drop that on the end there. Now, make sure you didn't accidentally rename and delete this one because it's going to grade your project all messed up. So let's go to step number 11. It says on the Q1 2022 worksheet, clear only the contents from the range B5 through B9. So here I'm going to select this, and I'm going to look for B5 through B9, which is right here. And I'm going to clear the contents. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to right click this, and I'm just going to say clear contents. Now notice this was dependent on this. And so those contents are clear, but now whenever these values are updated, they'll reappear. Now the next thing we need to do is just update these numbers to be the 22 sales and the 23 sales. So as you can see there, that's it pretty much to this assignment. Let's go ahead and submit it and see how we did. Okay, so we got our score here, and it looks like we missed the first two, and it doesn't really like the way that we did our formula here. And I think I know what the problem is. We used an individual call out, and we omitted this 3D reference. And I believe what they really wanted us to do was use a semicolon or a colon between these objects. So let's see how that works, and let's try to fix that. So I'm going to lower this one, and reopen if it's not already. So let's open this again and let's see how we can make some changes. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and enable content. Now let's take a look at what we did here. So what we need to do is I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this, and I'm going to say equals sum. Then I'm going to open this bracket, and what I'm going to do here is click into this page, and I'm gonna select this. One left click. Don't hit enter yet. What we're also going to do is we're going to hold down the shift key, and then I'm going to left click quarter 4. And then I'm going to close this parenthesis and then press enter. Now, as soon as I did that, you'll notice that it updated our sheet here. We just need to be sure that we update our new formula to go down here, and then that should correct any wrong. Now, also, if you got a missed answer for saying that this was not set up correctly, you may need to ensure that wherever you stored this, that when you submitted it, that they're stored kind of together, and that this reference doesn't change. So you just might want to go back and make sure you didn't accidentally bump this reference out. I think that was an earlier step. Like I said, I know this is right. So if you submit this, and even if you get a 19 out of 20, and I know it's this step because this was giving me a problem too because it didn't like the external formula idea. Gives me a little hard time sometimes. Don't worry, I'll still give you the credit for it as long as I see that you have a formula here in your project. But anyways, that's pretty much all there is to here. As you can see, I've already kind of had this graded up to 19 out of 20. I went and checked this, and it seems like every time I went and messed with my formula, you might have to go back on this step and just redo this one step right here in cell B12. Go through the video when I do that step after you fix these things, and you should get a 20 out of 20 on this assignment. As you can see, everything else is fine. But yeah, that's all there is to this, and I hope this helps you. So have a great night.